there's a few people online, and I'm not going to give these people airtime or name them because I feel like we named them so much in previous episodes. But something like people who stand in supermarkets and they go, this is shite, don't eat this. And this is X, Y, and Z reason why you shouldn't eat it. It's got this and this and this. That can be fear-mongering to certain groups of people. And this is my stance on it. I think, what are you willing to sacrifice, and what are the easy swaps that you can make in the week? They're going to make you feel better, going to keep you fuller, going to stop you eating that extra 500 calories a day, that's 17 calories per minute. What is going to stop you doing that? What are the easy swaps? And then what are the things that you're okay with having? I think when you start going down the route of, right, I'm not going to let anything UPF enter my body, and you get very obsessive in the nature around that, that's when you know you're entering down that route of orthorexia, and it's becoming authoritarian over your decisions around food. And I think that's the nuanced approach everyone has to take. Welcome to the Fit Dads podcast. My name's Ryan Dutton. I'm joined by the man himself, Mr. Brad Thompson, and it's a contentious topic today, ultra processed foods. People tend to be in two camps with this, either for it or against it. We're going to give our opinions. We're going to give some facts about ultra processed foods, the impact they're currently having globally, what exactly they are, and the socio-economic issues surrounding them, because there's a lot of those.
I know you've recently read the book Ultra Processed People, haven't you? So this should
Fantastic
be
book.
Hopefully fresh in your mind. And I feel like I'm living the life of low ultra processed foods at the minute.
Well, I think if you're a parent, you're probably much more aware of your ultra processed intake, because you realise when you go to the supermarket, anything you buy is directly being filtered down to your little ones. So we've got first-hand experience, I guess, with how it impacts our own children. I've got some anecdotes for sure with that stuff, but there's also some hard research and data that, and some more recent things that have come out about kids and ultra-processed foods, which I want to share with you. Okay. But before we jump into today, how's your week been, mate?
It's been good. Had an eventful weekend. Did Chesterfield 10K. Had a dicky back all week, but woke up Sunday morning, mate. Felt raring to go. So
good.
Went and
little PB as well.
Little PB.
Lovely.
48.12 for anyone who's interested. I really wanted 47.5, but considering my back were not in a good way on Monday night, I thought,
I was 47.5 a pivotal number.
I don't know. I like to go in like 2.5 minute increments. So I'm like, a couple of years ago it was 50, and then I broke that threshold, and I'm like, well, the next one's obviously 47.5. So I was just a bit shy from that, but just a good atmosphere, great atmosphere. I managed to see a couple of mates of mine, Jamie and Jordan from Lyft, and their other partner wasn't there, and I'm going to publicly call him out now.
Okay.
My good mate Danny Andrews wasn't there.
Wasn't running.
Don't know where he was.
Is he a runner?
I think he's a bit of everything. He's very hybrid. He's my mate Dan. So slightly disappointed, Dan, you weren't there.
Didn't sack it off today.
He's got fantastic hair, mate.
Has he?
I just wanted to see his hair bounce.
Better than your hair.
I've got a hat on right now for the sake of the. I'm getting it cut later.
That's looking very bouncy.
Oh, it's horrible. It's flat now. I've got the hat on, but yeah, here's what it is. And then I've been up to something else, mate, as well. We've been watching a new show, which I'm a little bit late to this party.
I know what you're going to say.
What do you think I'm going to watch?
Is it Apex?
No, but I do need to watch that.
All I see, every meme online is some bloke dancing to Chemical Brothers.
Yeah.
And I have no context for it. I'm getting all these memes about Apex, and I have no idea what it is.
That's next on my list. Apparently it's a film.
It is a film. I thought it was a series. And we went to go and watch it, I think. Was it the other night?
Yeah.
And do you know when it's like 8 o'clock at night and it's an hour and a half and you're like, I want to be in bed in the next hour. So we ended up sacking it off, but we will watch it at some point.
And apparently that scene that you're talking about, Taron Egerton, I think he improvised that.
Did he?
Yeah. But you find that a lot. People improvise stuff, and that's the stuff that really gets memorable.
It's the most real, isn't it?
Most real. But we've been watching 1,000 Blows on Disney Plus. Have you seen this?
Is that a euphemism?
Right. This is the story, all right? So I told one of the lads in gym.
Are you sure this is Disney and not Pornhub?
So I told my mate.
Is Bonnie Blue the main actor?
You've stole my punchline.
Oh, sorry.
You stole my punchline. So I told one of the lads at gym, he's like, oh, what are you watching then, Brad? You always seem to be doing something. I'm like, I'm watching 1,000 Blows. And he looked at me, proper confused. He went, what's that about then? I'm like, oh, it's about boxing, it's about this, sort of explaining plot. He went, oh, fucking hell, that were Bonnie Blue's new challenge. Honestly.
I mean, she's done. I'm pretty sure she's done that already.
Probably done that already,
yeah.
So,
sure.
No judgment, Bonnie. We just, we observe, we don't judge. Up to you.
You don't observe, I might be observing.
But yeah, it just cracked me up. So the fact that you beat me to punchline is funny one. What about you, mate? How's things been?
Well, you can see in the corner, mate, we're all getting prepped now for Bambino number 2. I was just telling you before, Mrs. looking big now. She's I think she's going to go on mat leave early. She's she won't mind me saying this, but she's proper waddling round now. Went for a scan, the kind of 12-week scan. Must be 6-month scan, 7-month scan, but something like that. I think it's a 6-month scan. She had that a couple of weeks ago, and she basically feels like he's almost there, good to go. And they confirm that his head is like engaged, they call it.
Yeah.
And she feels like she's walking around and his head's like literally between her thighs. I can't imagine what that's like. I was telling you before I came on, it's so odd, isn't it? I forgot what that feeling is like when you can just put your hand on her belly and you can feel like, oh, that's his bum, that's his elbow. And I can literally put my hands on her belly, both of them, start squidging around a little bit, and he'll push back against me. So it's so weird. Even Amy says he's a really wriggly baby. Like at night, he just goes mad. So yeah, exciting times. But she's feeling big. I'm doing a lot more of the daycare stuff. Daddy daycare is going on a lot more at the moment. But yeah, look, she's a superstar. And you realise like how much they go through during pregnancy. And the toughest bit's yet to come, but the most exciting bit comes afterwards.
They certainly do sacrifice a lot, don't they? They essentially sacrifice the body for basically 2 years. Do you think it's probably a year's worth of rehab easy, and then they sacrifice potentially career, like working part-time. It's nuts, isn't it? Yeah. It's crazy what they agree to do.
And you realise how like on board and not on board some companies are as well. Yeah. I mean, obviously she's a teacher, so female dominate, I think, to a certain degree. They have a lot of people going off pregnant and women going off pregnant, but some companies just aren't on that same wavelength. They're a bit funny about when you come back and when you leave and the amount of pay you get. And I think unless you're in quite a good company, a lot of companies, their maternity pay isn't amazing, especially after 6 months. A lot of them don't pay anything after 6 months.
It makes you wonder that some companies they'll push what they can get away with, what's legally obliged, whereas the companies, I think, who really look after, I think is it in Sweden? I think you get a cash payment when you give birth.
Do you?
Heard about this?
Oh, no. All right. Yeah, I've got to pull this up, mate. Come on.
Sweden. What is it? Maternity. Let me have a look. Sweden maternity leave. So Sweden provides 480 days of paid maternity leave per child.
400. Well, they give you over a year off.
Over a year
That's
off.
nuts.
Each parent with joint custody is individually entitled to 240 days.
Wow. So the bloke can have it off as well. That's unbelievable.
That's crazy. I didn't realise it was that.
That's unbelievable.
What are we doing here, Ryan?
I mean, if you want to bring up good kids, that's the way to do it, right? Have the parents around there.
I looked for a cash payment for giving life, and I've actually found the world's best maternity leave.
I wonder if they come in once you've given birth and they wheel out like a briefcase on a train. They just open the briefcase full of money and go, there you go, well done.
I need to find this out. Sorry, guys. It's no, can't find it. I've not made that up. Definitely, there's one country that does it, but
one country does what? Sorry,
one country definitely gives like payment for just giving birth.
Oh, really? Just gives you cash.
You just be like, there you go. Well,
I wonder if it's countries that want to promote like maybe more births and grow their population.
Fair, but no, I will look into that. So
that's South Korea. I mean, have you heard about South Korea? They're almost going to go for a population collapse. They reckon.
Yeah. It's serious, isn't it?
Yeah, so few babies and new people in that country.
At risk of bashing reform, immigration is essential. Respectfully, it is.
Yeah, we could go very political.
We could. I'm not going to do it.
We've had our local elections.
I'm speaking purely scientifically, Ryan.
Reform have had a big resurgence, but we'll keep the political chat out of it and we'll steer it back onto UPFs today, mate.
We will. In fact, can I cash you on in a very random fact about one of my idols? All right.
Yeah.
Sean Bean's got a podcast.
Sean Bean has?
Sean Bean.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what it's about?
If it's not Lord of the Rings, I'm not interested.
It's not. I'll give you, that's one of your guesses. I'll give you another two.
Yorkshire. Just Yorkshire.
No. But
what was he? Was it? He was on some adverts, wasn't he? It was on the old. It was the voice of O2, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he still is, but no, nothing to do with any of them.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Go on.
you used to get like boxes of tea, and in packets of tea, you used to get cards, didn't you? About different flags of the world or cars of the world, soldiers, and then you had birds of the world, and they were only about that big, like little.
Fucking bird watching.
Oh, is it birds? Oh, I thought it was
Bird watching.
I thought it was tea.
Bird watching.
Is he big into his bird watching?
Big into
now?
his bird watching.
Is he?
Called Get Birding.
It's called Get Birding.
Called Get Birding with Sean Bean.
I would not have had him down as a
I'm
bird
baffled
watcher.
by that. It's one of my absolute
He's
idols.
gone a little bit more tame on my scale because of that. I want him wielding swords in shining coats of armour.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah.
I'm like, big time. Like, that's blown my mind, that. Somebody told me the other day, and I don't know how I feel about it.
There's a lot of bird watchers in Sheffield.
Is there?
Yeah, loads. Because I go to a photography place and the guy in there says Sheffield's big for it. Because obviously Peak District and Sheffield has the most parks and green spaces of any city in the UK. Right. So of course, there's more people watching birds, basically. I think the average age is quite high.
Yeah, I can imagine. I feel like we definitely bring that.
But maybe we need a Francis Bergignon, the train guy.
Yeah.
Maybe we need a bird version of him, a young lad who's into bird watching.
Bergignon.
Is
that what you're saying?
Francis, I thought it was Bergignon.
It is Bergignon. But I'm saying we need a Francis
Bergignon.
Bergignon.
I like that. Yeah, here he is. Here he is. There's the dad joke.
There we go.
Right, shall we actually get on some UPFs?
Shall we?
Okay. So, I guess UPFs are a big topic. People lie in two camps. I didn't realise how contentious it was until I started putting some things out on my R5 community WhatsApp, and God, people really dug their heels in about whether it was good or bad. I had some people saying, yeah, everyone needs to be really aware of what they give their kids, and there was almost that little mini kind of passive-aggressive arguments coming out on the WhatsApp group a little bit, just about, people, and rightfully so, having opinions about what's right, because not everyone can afford to cut out UPFs. But I think the general consensus, in my opinion, is that if you cut them out from a health point of view, it's going to be better. It's hard to disregard the science and the studies and the evidence suggesting that, right? So I guess let's have some stats about UPFs to start with. A lot of this is US based, but UPFs now make up for nearly 60% of US adults' calorie consumption. I think it's about 57% in the UK. Among American children, that figure is close to 70%.
Whoa.
So American children have close to 70% of UPF foods. In young adults aged 18 to 25, it makes up around 55 to 65 of what's eaten. A major 2024 review of 45 meta-analysis covering nearly 10 million participants found that some striking figures. There was convincing evidence that a high UPF diet increases the risk from death, of cardiovascular death and disease by 50%, and the risk of anxiety by 48%. It found highly suggestive evidence of a 66% increased risk of death from heart disease, a 55% increase risk of obesity, a 41% increased risk of sleep disorders, a 40% increased risk of type 2 diabetes, and a 21% increase in a risk of early death from any cause.
Wow.
And that's all from UPFs. Brain. How does it affect the brain? People who eat more ultra-processed foods may have a higher risk of memory and thinking problems and stroke when eating more UPFs. It may also speed up early signs of Parkinson's disease, based on some studies. A global public health warning. So this was back in November 2025. Lancet series concluded that the rise of UPFs is damaging public health, fueling chronic diseases worldwide, and deepening health inequalities. Obviously, that's a socio-economic issue. The series noted that deteriorating diets are primarily the result of sophisticated political tactics by a powerful global UPF industry. And this is something that was touched on in the book, Ultra Processed People. It gets quite shady when you get certain companies on board and they're funding certain studies. It gets very murky. These companies are very much in the back pockets of certain politicians as well. So it is really murky when it comes to the legitimacy of like, certain studies and things like that. But these obviously, ones that aren't funded by the big companies pushing UPFs. There's a really interesting study actually, or a case study, shall I say, on UPFs in the Amazon, and this was in the book. There was something known as I'm going to butcher the name again. It's a foreign name. The Nestle Ate Vodka a Bordeaux. It was essentially a supermarket on the river, and they put it. Is it the River Nile? Not the River Nile. What's the one that goes through the Amazon? What's the river that goes to the Amazon?
I can't remember this.
I've had a mind blank.
It's good. Jamie, pull that up.
Jamie, pull that up, please.
What is the
Before we
river
continue, I need to know that one.
It goes through the Amazon.
Yeah,
I can't remember this
what's
either.
It called?
The Amazon River.
Wow. If you've just been listening to that,
Screaming at us.
You were right to shout to that.
It does stretch 4,000 miles though.
It does.
There you go.
Well, they basically put it on the Amazon. And
Fucking hell.
it's fascinating this. So this is a great case study for why UPFs matter and how much they can affect populations. So this was it was known as the Nestle takes you on board. That was the kind of translation in Brazilian. And it set sail from the Brazilian port of Belém in July 2010. The barge was described as a floating supermarket as it embarked on an 18-day circuit up the River Amazon, aiming to provide 800,000 people in impoverished riverside towns with access to its products. The barge journeyed to 18 small cities on the Para and Xingu rivers, docking for one day in each city, and offered over 300 Nestle brands, including Ninho, Maggi, and Nescafe. Nestle said the boat's program had been aimed at broadening access to food and beverages and promoting social development in remote communities. The company framed it as offering access to nutrition, health, and wellness to remote communities in the north. Basically, what they'd done was, and this is described in the book, they'd hit a little bit of a plateau in their business, and they'd realised in some of the kind of more developed nations and countries, there was so much competition now, and they were struggling to kind of position themselves. So they directly beelined for the lower income countries and third world countries. I won't say Brazil's third world, but it's lower economic countries, right? And it wanted to push its products and wheel its products in there. And what it essentially did was just pollute these populations. The biggest selling item was a Kit Kat. It's 80 grams of which 38 grams is sugar. Critics noted that Nestle framed the barge as a public service. It was overwhelmingly stocked with ultra-processed foods, sugar-heavy products, rather than nutritious staples. The consequences for riverside communities were significant and largely negative. The products rapidly infiltrated the communities. To compete, local stores actually began stocking ultra-processed foods as well. So they realised that everyone's going to this boat, they're getting hooked on these sugars and ultra-processed foods. Our stuff that's kind of homegrown can't compete. So they started importing Nestle products and other things. So Nestle not only sold off their barge, but they then started importing into these kind of other local supermarkets and things like that. In its wake, the Terra Grande, it was also known, left dietary chaos. High sugar, ultra-processed food became the core food group. Childhood obesity rates in the area rose as high as 30% in some communities. And there was 0 cases of type 2 diabetes until that Nestle barge started ploughing its way through the Amazon River.
What year is this, by the way?
This was 2010 it set off.
Okay.
I think it was there for about 18 months. Today, 1 in 4 people in Brazil are considered obese. 1 in 4. And obviously, I think obviously UPF foods are much more prevalent there. One of the highest rates in the world, a rate that has doubled in just 20 years between 1980 and 2015. The number of Brazilian children who were obese skyrocketed by 270% in that time frame. Approximately 70% of Nestle products are sold in Brazil in 2017. approximately 70% of Nestle products sold in Brazil in 2017 contained excess sugar. So 70% of the products they sold were ridiculous in sugar. That's just nuts, isn't it? You know, their products are so UPF orientated. It's they're one of the worst companies for it. And 52% contain excess saturated fat, according to a study by Brazil's Institute for Consumer Protection. Nestle's barge ran until July 2017. Oh, sorry, so it actually ran for 7 years. Wow, I didn't realise that. The 7-year odyssey, catering to previously untouchable consumers throughout the Amazon. Private boat companies had since taken off where the big giant left off. This is fascinating, actually. So there's people obviously criticising this. An NYU nutrition professor named Marion Nestle. It's an unfortunate name, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a weird twist of fate.
No relation to the company, it says here in brackets, was pointed in her criticism. She said, standard public health approaches involved asking communities what they want. Did Nestle do that? They can't ignore the marketing that creates the demand for these products. We know that junk food leads to illness in rapidly developing countries, but most people living in rural communities don't. So it's an unlevel playing field of information. Besides, Nestle is not doing this out of altruism. They are doing this to make money off poor people. And that's exactly what they saw. They saw those poor people as people that can afford their products, can afford it in mass, and they knew they'd get hooked. That's essentially what they did.
That's not just in Brazil, by the way. I think that statement.
It's a great case study
of,
of what happens when you go to these quite untouched places and how it just polluted that area with ultra processed foods.
Well, hopefully, they're proud of what they've achieved. I don't know. Would you be proud of what you've achieved if you're a businessman and you look at the bottom line and you go, "Yeah, we fucking smash that." But yet you look at the lasting legacy. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to join the very, very cynical view of this consumerist capitalism market that just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I think you're giving a lot of credit to the CEOs of these companies in thinking that they'll even care.
Exactly.
And the only, I'm saying literally, the only thing those guys in those boardrooms of Nestle care about is whether their stock and their profits are going up. And Brazil will have been a massive win for them. There's no doubt about that.
It's a glorious overcorrection, isn't it? When you've got a world whose population is dying from starvation, that all of a sudden we've got these ultra-processed foods, and now that stat has completely flipped, and more people are now dying from overconsumption than starvation. That is everything you need to know about who's behind these companies. I've just actually pulled up a graph, Ryan, which is these are the 10 companies that control everything you buy. All right. I'm going to turn this around and show you. Just have a little glance. All right. These are the 10 companies, Nestle included in there.
So we've got Coca-Cola, Nestle, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Unilever, Mars,
Kellogg's,
Wrigley, they're known. Obviously Mondelez.
Cadbury as well. So everything ultra processed are controlled by 10 companies basically, and they continue to diversify. They continue to damage farming communities, damage maybe impoverished nations who, again, it's a huge overconsumption. You only have to look back in time and think, why were UPFs created? And they were a wartime thing, you know? It were Spam, it was tin foods. And unfortunately,
UPFs have been going on for a long time. Like we've always looked at how we can extend the life of food, and preservatives, when they first came out, were an absolute game changer. I wonder if preservatives were invented during the war. Was it before?
I
I've got a
believe
feeling
so.
It must have been during some kind of war for rations and things like that to make food last longer.
I've got some notes here. After the Second World War, food science accelerated fast because governments wanted stable food supplies. So companies wanted scalable products, some that could be refrigerated, packed with preservatives and refined oils, to mainly, firstly, make it last longer, and secondly, make it taste nicer. And, one thing that probably wasn't considered during those times after the Second World War, respectfully, when you've just been in a process, when you've just been in a period of global tragedy, you're likely not thinking about you know, future generations, or in terms of the health of future generations, you're probably just happy to be alive.
The idea is logical.
Yeah.
But the execution is felt for many, many years after, for sure.
Somebody once described ultra-processed foods to me as ultra-engineered foods, and they are engineered. You only have to look at taste testings, focus groups, and have you ever seen the example of when they gave hunter-gatherer tribes a cheesecake?
No.
You not seen this?
No.
It's fucking crazy.
Okay, what happens?
What would you presume happens?
I presume they'll take one bite and go, where can I get this, basically?
They couldn't have enough. They made themselves sick.
Did they?
But if you think about what that texture is, that texture doesn't exist in nature. Creamy, crunchy, like sweet. That doesn't really exist. That combination of foods and combinations of taste, it doesn't exist. And I'm really glad you mentioned something earlier that I just want to bring back up, which is the meta-analysis. And I think anyone who's curious about, you know, us citing studies and like, well, this study said this, the meta-analysis is the gold standard because that's a study of studies. But then you also prefaced it by saying, who actually funded these studies? And this is not me being conspiratorial, by the way. This is on the record.
It's on record. Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is, you know, you've got Nestle funding studies about, how great ultra-processed foods are for you and how useful they can be. It's a giant conflict of interest. And if you are a scientist trying to make a living, do you know what I mean? You can't really blame the structure of it. You only have to look at this probably very unaltruistic views.
Yeah, I mean, Coca-Cola are one of the worst. They fund a lot of these things. And there's even, I don't know how valid this is, but there's rumours that Coca-Cola actually invented the calories in, calories out model.
Oh, really? Okay.
Some of their funding back in the day basically tried to push the idea that if you drink one of our products, you only have to burn this amount of calories. And they started to introduce this idea of calories in versus calories out. I think it was quite a long time ago. I did have some.
I've just had a quick look now. French chemist Nicolas Clément.
Yep.
First coined calorie. 1820s.
I like the inflection you put on
Clément. I'm prone to Duolingo, mate. To measure steam engine efficiency. Okay. So obviously a calorie is essentially how much energy is let off when you burn something. Basically, that's what it means. So again, it's then an American chemist came in to applied it to human metabolism, which, as we know, mate, like human metabolism is so complex. So it is a bit of an oversimplification, but it gave metrics to something that didn't have metrics prior to that.
There's a little bit of a brief description here about Coca-Cola and that thing I was talking about. So the phrase exercise is medicine, those three words, exercise is medicine, is a trademark phrase for Coca-Cola.
Okay.
If you use that in any of your marketing, a bit like just do it.
Yeah.
Is trademarked by Nike. Exercise is medicine is trademarked by Coca-Cola.
Wow.
It was part of a huge public health program run as a partnership with the American College of Sports Medicine. Researchers at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine conducted a network of analysis of Coca-Cola's scientific funding and found hundreds of papers in the scientific literature, all promoting the idea of energy balance. That you could drink a sugary drink and simply run it off. In other words, the entire popular understanding of calories in, calories out was in part built on a network of research, all funded by Coca-Cola. So they've got their greasy little mitts on all the studies, and they've really wangled this idea that, you can just burn them off. And I've, since reading that book, Ultra Processed People, on a personal level, I basically went through my whole kind of cupboards, essentially. And I was looking more at the things that are in the cupboard rather than the fridge, things that are lasted for a while. And I was shocked at how many little things I was having on a daily basis that I actually thought were quite good and okay to eat actually weren't. There was these rice cakes that I was eating, great example, and they were topped with yogurt. And I thought, what's wrong with that? It's just a bit of rice cake and some yogurt on top, turn it over. Oh, it's full of emulsifiers and acids and oils and rapeseed stuff and preservatives, colorings and flavorings. It was just a whole heap of stuff. And I was like, how have you got that much crap into something that's actually supposed to be quite nutritious? So when I went to the supermarket, I was having a look in that section, and literally on the shelf above was these multi-grain rice cakes, and there was 3 ingredients, like rice and a couple of the grains. And I thought, it's such a simple swap, but the big factor is they were a bit more expensive. So I got them anyway, because I thought I want to improve my amount of UPFs. So I made that little swap. Then I went to the strawberry jam that I was getting to put my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Yeah. And I had a look at the ones I was getting. I wasn't that bothered by brands. This one's a bit cheaper. I always got it, spun it round, looked on the back, full of crap. I think it was about 50, 60p, right? Above, there's £1.40. Look on the back of that. Again, a few little bits in there, but nowhere near as much as the one below it. So I spent more money on the better quality one. What I did find though was I definitely felt like I wasn't getting as hungry.
Yeah.
I've always been a little bit of a ravenous git, I'll be honest with you. I can never be satisfied. I'm constantly eating and snacking on bits. I train a lot so I can kind of get away with it, but I was never satisfied by my food. Since I've made these small swaps and I've been through everything that I eat, I've definitely felt fuller, for sure.
There's so many avenues I just want to go down from what you've just mentioned there. First one is, if you could trademark anything, Ryan, what would you trademark? Would there be an R5 trademark? Saying that you say a lot.
What did I say a lot?
What did you say on the hike that we had?
I can't remember now.
When Luke's like, right, lads, do you want to go this way? This way's a bit tougher. I felt like you responded with quite a typical Ryan response. You were like, it's a bit of a motto for you, that.
Oh, what did I say? I don't know. Something going the longer route, taking the harder path, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was just something like, yeah, fuck it, be right.
Was it? Okay, is that what I said?
Yeah, just like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah. What did he say? He said, oh, I know he's that guy. Oh, what did he say now? It was something about, he said something like, this might have us questioning a few things. And I basically just said to him, if I work out by the end of it doesn't make me question my life choices, I've not pushed hard enough, basically.
If you don't question your life, if you don't question your life choices, you've not worked hard enough.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's it.
There's your trademark. You mentioned as well about cola and sort of the impact that they've had. Have you seen the YouTube channel Fern? I feel like I shoehorn into every podcast now. Have you seen their YouTube episode on what Coke did to Mexico?
What Coke did to Mexico? No. I mean, is it similar to Nestle in Brazil?
Yeah. So in Mexico, it is cheaper to buy Coke than water.
Wow.
There's a specific area in Mexico. I don't think it's Guadalajara. Where is it? I will find out. But basically, it's cheaper to buy Coke than what it is water. And it's something to do with cola using a lot of the water supply.
Oh, wow.
Which is nuts.
Wow.
So apparently, yeah. So a lot of the kids now are, being brought up on it, and their diabetes levels are through the roof. So, people having amputations as a really severe side effect of type 2 diabetes.
Diabetes, yeah.
Huge. Yeah. And have you ever seen the videos of people who keep Big Macs in shoeboxes?
Yeah, and they're still the same after years. Yeah.
I once found a Big Mac behind my bed when I was like 18 after a night out. And it must have been 2 months old. It was fine. I didn't eat it, but it was fine.
I mean, how the hell has that got there? How have we not eaten that?
I don't know.
But I kind of, even before I got into nutrition, even when I was a teenager, and I used to go out drinking, and I was, I didn't actually drink till the age of 18, but when I used to go out drinking and we'd have a Mackey's on the way home, right? I always felt like when I could get a massive meal. I could get your Big Mac with the meal, chips, drinks. I could get a chocolate milkshake. I could get an extra burger and some chicken nuggets, right? I could scram the whole lot in an hour.
Mm-hmm. Still be hungry.
Still be a little bit hungry. Yeah. And I always wondered why that was. It's a lot of food. And it's a lot of calories. I knew it was a lot of calories. Why am I hungry like an hour, 2 hours later? I should fill me up the rest of the day till tea time. It never did.
It is a weird one. And you think about how, they call it satiety, or like how satiating food is. Whole foods are really, really satiating. And just what you said about the jam. If you're having jam that is very whole foods, very, used to, it's just very natural ingredients.
Yeah.
Your body's having to work to a certain degree to, to digest that.
Yeah.
Whereas ultra processed foods, you can, it's like a little calorie bomb, if you know what I mean. So it's a very, very difficult one, mate. And
the analogy I always use is like, see how full you feel after 1,000, let's call it 1,200 calories of McDonald's. I'm going to put 1,200 calories of McDonald's in front of you. And then let's see how full you feel after 1,200 calories of a Christmas dinner.
Yep.
Christmas dinner's good quality food, right? So whole foods, meats, veggies, good carbohydrates, all homemade stuff. When I have my Christmas dinner, I'm comatized on the sofa after that 1,200 calories. And it's probably more than that, by the way. But the 1,200 calories of Mackey's, I'm all right. I can go back my day. I'm satisfied, but I'm not like, oh my God, I need to go lie down on the sofa. And I'm not sure if it's the pineal gland or the pituitary gland, but it's the one that sits underneath the brain, and this actually registers nutrients.
Okay.
So when you have food and you process it, your body registers how much nutrients it's taking from that. It sends a signal to your brain. And when it knows, oh my God, there's loads of nutrients we're taking from this, it'll give you that feeling of fullness. And you'll produce, is it leptin and ghrelin that regulate appetite? So I think it shuts down the production of ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. But if you've not had a lot of nutrients, even if that food is really high calorie and really kind of quite voluminous, it will keep that production of ghrelin going because it knows we haven't got all the nutrients from this that we need. And UPFs are really bad for that. There's also some really interesting stats from the book that I want to go through. And one of them was around something you mentioned before around the texture of food and how soft it is. And the softness and calorie density of UPF food is much kind of, it's engineered into it because they want you to be able to eat it at speed.
Yep.
So there's an experiment done by NIH. The softness and calorie density of UPF meant participants consumed an average of 17 calories more per minute when eating it compared to normal foods. So you eat 17 calories more, and that's because what UPF is engineered to do is to eat them fast before your body actually signals that fullness. So if it's softer, think about McDonald's burger, right? How quick do you eat a McDonald's burger? It's so soft and so, whereas if you eat like a big chunky burger you've made from scratch, it's a bit meatier, it takes a bit of time to get through. And this is a big part of it. People on a primarily UPF diet also consume an average of 500 calories more per day than people on a non-UPF diet. Even though both diets contained identical amounts of fat, salt, sugar, and fiber, the non-UPF group actually lost weight.
Mm-hmm. Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
So again, it's just kind of, it plays into this fact that it's not as simple as calories in versus calories out. The quality of those calories matter.
For context with this as well, I've got a stat here about a bag of crisp. So a standard 25 to 35 gram bag of crisps has roughly got one medium-sized potato in there. How many bags of crisps could you eat in one go?
I mean, a medium potato is not even that big, right?
I mean, it's, if you think of a jacket potato,
Think it's that size? I don't even think it's that.
I don't know. Even two. Like if you have two medium-sized jacket potatoes, you're stuffed. I could easily eat 4 bags of crisp. I won't even blink.
Yeah.
I could just inhale them.
Yeah.
You think it's share bags. Apparently sharing bags that are 150 grams have got 4 to 6 potatoes in them. As in 4, 5 or 6 potatoes.
You have a full bag of crisps.
Yeah.
See how full you are.
Yep.
Have 4 big jacket potatoes. See how full you are.
I just want to give a special mention to the team at SAIDA as well, South Yorkshire Eating Disorder Association, because I'm well aware that we are discussing a topic that can trigger a couple of people as well. I've worked with people in the past who suffer with something called orthorexia, where they become overly obsessed about these things and they won't let any sort of nasties or foreign entities enter their nutrition, and it becomes really, really disruptive and a bit obsessive.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's just a case of, if someone's made it this far and they're thinking, all right, I want to make some changes, but I'm worried about taking it too far, just know that, they've got tons of resources out there, things that can help, or if you suspect that, or if this is new to you, if you've never heard of orthorexia before, I'm cautious about the role of processed foods in the fitness industry as well, which is probably a topic we'll come on to in a bit. But yeah, gets me thinking.
Well, let's discuss that. Let's discuss like why it's an issue, this orthorexia.
Okay.
Especially online.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few people online, and I'm not going to give these people airtime or name them because I feel like we named them so much in previous episodes, but you'll probably know who we're talking about when we start kind of talking about people who stand in supermarkets and they go, this is shite, don't eat this. And this is X, Y, and Z reason why you shouldn't eat it. It's got this and this and this. And that can be fear-mongering to certain groups of people. And that was a big topic of conversation in the R5 WhatsApp group. You know, we had people who highlighted this really well. They said, look, there's a lot of fear-mongering around UPFs. And this is my stance on it. I think even when I read this book, it was one of the most influential books in terms of actually making me take action on things I consume on a daily and weekly basis. Like I said, I went through everything from my rice cakes to my jam and the bread that I eat, everything. I went through it and I made some simple swaps and I feel really good for it. But also, there's things I'm not willing to budge on. I'm not going to stop drinking Monster. I'm sorry, Brad. It is going to happen. From now, probably until the end of time, at least while I've got young kid or kids, I need that energy. I need something in there. And I think that's the nuanced approach everyone has to take. What are you willing to sacrifice, and what are the easy swaps that you can make in the week? They're going to make you feel better, going to keep you fuller, going to stop you eating that extra 500 calories a day, that's 17 calories per minute. What is going to stop you doing that? What are the easy swaps? And then what are the things that you're okay with having? I think when you start going down the route of, right, I'm not going to let anything UPF enter my body, and you get very obsessive in the nature around that, that's when you know you're entering down that route of orthorexia, and it's becoming authoritarian over your decisions around food. And it's hard because we're bombarded with things, and I have moments of weakness. We all do with food. We all, what did we get on the way home? We went and did a big walk with Luke Horton the other week. And what did we get on the way home? We all got KFC.
Oh,
right?
we all got KFC.
We all big
we
dirty
did.
KFC.
Fancied a burger.
We burnt thousands of calories. We were hungry. 3 blokes in a van, and we pulled up at a service station. No fucks given. We got a big KFC, right? No, that happens very rarely for me. I couldn't even say the last time I had a KFC or anything like that before then.
It did unnerve me watching you eat that KFC.
Why? I don't know why. Because I inhaled it.
It weren't very pretty, mate. I'm not going to lie.
But yeah, it happens. Like, I'm not going to sit there and go, no, I'm never going to have that stuff. I'm going to eat that stuff. I'm sorry. Occasionally, I'm going to enjoy it as well.
We once went on a staff night out and we saw some gym members, and somebody approached me, and I think my food were on the way. They're like, oh, what have you ordered? And I told them, I went, oh, I didn't think you ate stuff like that. I'm like, what are you on about? I'm a human being. Like, I'm out for a meal. Like, I'll have what I want.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, when you're in the fitness industry, you associate with those things more, and you're kind of almost held to a higher standard than most people.
Which I get, but I think people will see, I've got this principle, right? So if you imagine a pie chart, as probably from a health perspective, if people talk about eating clean, which obviously that language can be quite damaging, but if you think about an 80-20, which I think they call it Pareto's Law. Have you heard of Pareto's Law before?
No.
80-20?
Oh, no, I have. I have.
You see 80-20 everywhere.
Yes, I do know
but
about
essentially, that 80-20 principle is quite an important one. So if you think if you eat 21 meals in a week, like 3 meals, 7 days a week, you've got 21 meals. If you're eating whatever you want 20% of the time, that is approximately 4 meals that you can just do what you want.
Yeah.
If you are doing that, that's a pretty solid way to live. If you want a nice life balance that's not too restrictive, that's quite a nice way to live. If you are pushing upper echelons what your body's capable of, that pie chart has probably got to shift to maybe 90-10. If you ever shift to 100% on plan, every meal is planned, every meal's macro counted, you're in the realms of competing or getting paid for your job, or getting paid for the way that you look, which each to their own. But somebody might be listening to this thinking, well, where do I lie on that pie chart? Am I 60-40? Am I 40-60? it gets you thinking about, like, if you can do a little, assessment of how much
Just
of
change
your
the percentage.
maybe just shift the percentage a little bit. If it means that you have to prep, one of the best things I encourage anyone I work with to do is let's try and prepare the breakfast and the evening, the breakfast and the dinners, especially if they're working people. Breakfast and your lunch, depending on where you're listening from, and then your evening meal, that could be a little bit more free flowing, where you've probably got a bit of tag team if you're with a partner, or it means that you've got maybe a bit more time to prepare stuff. But having that time to prepare is quite important.
I agree. And there's simple ways of doing that. One of the big things I push for people who don't like making 7 meals for the week on a Sunday afternoon is, when you make your tea, just make 2 portions.
Yeah.
One for you tonight and then one for your lunch tomorrow. And you just do that. That's a great way of just having that lunch sorted. Breakfast as well. I mean, that's one of the ones you don't even have to prepare for. Like I say to clients, if you've got no time in the morning, but you want to eat 400 calories, get 400 calories of nuts. Nuts in the morning for me it's just such a good, obviously whole source. And I'm not talking like, honey coated cashews. I'm talking proper whole nuts, like a good, cashews, almonds, pine nuts. Get some of those down in the morning. Mixed bag of nuts, for me, is awesome. Walnuts, Brazil nuts. I love all those in a big bag. And I promise you, 400 calories don't go a long way in nuts either. So there's so many easy ways of doing it and so many simple swaps we can make. I tend to keep most of my UPFs really for like the weekend as well, when I'm with the family. And I can afford myself, a little bit of extra stuff. And I might have the time in the morning or afternoon to go and really push a big cardio session and actually burn a lot of calories alongside it. So I can, in my own mind, justify it a little bit alongside some other better quality foods.
Have you ever tried making some of these common UPF filled foods?
Have I tried to make them?
Yeah. So like Amy yesterday made some Nutella.
Okay.
And she was a bit disappointed in it. She's like, it doesn't taste the same. Me and Ted love it.
Did she follow a recipe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just literally roasted hazelnuts.
Yeah.
Blitz them up. Cocoa powder. I think we've got some cacaos as well. And just a couple of other bits and bobs. And honestly, amazing. Put a little bit of vanilla extract in there. Really, really good. And fair play to Amy. I told her, I'm like, I will mention you to death in this episode, because she's been amazing in terms of just taking control of, well, I'd rather do that. She's making her own bread. She's making her own, snacks, like just these little date bars. And honestly, mate, they take about 10 minutes to make and sorts us out for a week. And they're really nutritious, calorie dense. Honestly, I can't stress enough just how game changing that's been in our household.
You need someone like that who takes the reins with the food and doesn't just go right. Like, I mean, you can't avoid it. They're going to have UPF foods. There's no doubt about that. But while we're on the topic of kids and around food and UPFs, there was something I was reading just literally before we came on the air today. So I'm going to butcher this maybe a little bit, but I'll tell you the bare bones of it. There was a Canadian study done around kids and UPF foods. It's been a really, really long study where they've taken kids from birth up until the age of 16 years old and studied them. I've not got through reading this whole article yet, but in the first few chapters, what it found was the 2 kids who had UPF foods up until 3 years old. So there was 2 groups of people. One group had higher UPF foods. These other kids up until the age of 3 had kind of next to no UPF foods. And between the ages of 3 to 5, what they saw was massive changes in their behaviour and their emotional issues. Have you found the study?
Yeah.
And again, I've not read the full article, but it was really, really fascinating to hear this person dissect this study that's been going on for many, many years. And the guy who was kind of interviewing it was he was playing devil's advocate quite a lot. He was like, how do you know specifically, like, this is down to the UPF foods? Because there's so many variables, like, socioeconomic backgrounds and nature, nurture, all those things. How do you know it's the UPF foods? And they basically categorized all these children. I think it was tens of thousands of kids they've done in the studies. Have you got it up there?
Yeah.
Do you want to read me just some of the details of it if you've got it to hand?
There's actually quite a lot of participants, to be honest. They've got I thought you were doing a great job, by the way, trying to recall that. Just over 2,000 Canadian children, which is
I thought it was more than that.
Big study. Higher intake UPF intake at age 3 years was associated with adverse behavioural and emotional symptoms at age 5. So just in a really condensed period. And meaning that the findings suggest that UPS consumption in early childhood can adversely influence behavioural and emotional development, which is crazy, isn't it?
It's having that much of an impact at an early age. And again, this is the socioeconomic issue, because UPF foods are cheap, right?
Yeah.
And, people from lower poor income backgrounds, sometimes you see these kids who are just nuts on like council estates and you go, it's actually not your fault. Like, you're being fed these foods that are keeping you just completely wired on these foods and making rash decisions and ultimately wanting more of it.
I remember you asking Dr. Charlotte this, and she's since admitted to me, she's like, not many people ask that question, but she's someone who's very finger on the pulse. Obviously, information's coming out, and makes you wonder if it's a contributing factor. And again, that phrase that we use a lot on this podcast about causation, correlation, does it run alongside certain socioeconomic factors that had breed that anyway, that breed that behavior, nature versus nurture side of things? Or is that actually directly, if you've got sugars and E numbers impacting, how the brain processes nutrients, and who knows?
Well, Dr. Charlotte Graham was the ADHD specialist, wasn't she? She deals with kids and adults, I think.
Yeah, ADHD and autism specifically, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I was reading the Ultra Processed People book when we interviewed her. And I brought up this topic of foods, and it wasn't something she'd mentioned at all throughout the whole podcast. But having read all this stuff about the kind of the processed foods and its effects on young people and children, I just couldn't help but make so many similarities between ADHD and the diagnoses she was giving and what I was hearing in this book. I was like, it's exactly the same stuff. And I wonder how many people get maybe misdiagnosed as a kid, and then they've actually not got ADHD. They're just high as fuck on ultra processed foods. They're literally off their tits on artificial sweeteners, flavorings, colorings, preservatives. They're never actually satiated by the food they eat. They're constantly wanting more. They're constantly tired because they've got no energy. They're a bit like all over the show. They can't focus in school.
Combine that with screen time and stuff like that as well.
Oh my God.
It's a bit of a weird recipe.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It has really got me thinking as well about, I don't know, why it is actually cheaper to buy a food with more ingredients in it, full of preservatives. Because like you said earlier, like just picking, was it the jam that you said you've gone for the pricier jam, but it's got less ingredients in it. Like, surely that shouldn't make sense in your head. It's a bit like, what do you mean? Like, making jam, by the way, isn't that hard. But me putting all these interventions saying like, Amy makes his own snacks, makes his own bread, she's made this. Time, right?
Yeah.
Everything requires that time to sit back, think about it, prepare. And if you've got 2, 3, 4+ children around you causing havoc, what time have people got? And I think that's the socioeconomic issue is so huge. It is so vital.
You put that on a plate in front of parents as well and say, look, you've got an option here with UPF foods to get a little bit of time back, be less stressed out, and give your kids what they need and be affordable. It's like dangling the carrot, isn't it?
There is, in Aldi, for example, right? If anyone is curious, go in the frozen chip section at Aldi and just have a look on back of the chip packets, right? There's one pack that we buy and it's got 2 ingredients in it. It's got potatoes and sunflower oil.
Okay.
That's it. So they are out there.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't shout very loud.
Yeah.
And they taste quite nice.
Yeah.
And one thing I've put here is like the colourful packaging. All right. The fact that, well, I feel bad saying the system, but the fact that you've got this integral system of companies, the 10 companies that control everything we eat, that graph I shared earlier, that flow chart, you think about what they do and everything's really bright, brash, it can appeal to kids, it's very eye-catching. Of course you're going to look at that rather than supermarket own brand stuff. Like, of course you're going to look at Quaker Oats rather than, bottom of the shelf Aldi rolled oats. Of course you're going to look at that. It makes sense. It's in your eye line. When you're paying at a service station and you've got chocolate and sweets lined up just before you pay when you're waiting in queue. Oh, I fancy that. I just think the way that things are set up, And look, everybody's got a price, haven't they? All right. If you're a service station and a big company comes in and said, can you put these sweets right at the front of your shop and we'll pay you this much? Of course you're going to do it. You know, like, it's a tough one. It's hard to know. It's hard to know where the solution is here.
The phrase "money is the root of all evil" comes to mind, doesn't it? Because it is all money orientated.
Yeah.
Food is unfortunately flooded by companies who want to make more money and more money and more money, and they want to keep investors happy.
Yep.
And when you corrupt an industry, like, it's not just food; it's everything, right? It's the legitimacy of everything. Yeah, it is, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think capitalism, to a certain degree, is good. It's got benefits.
Yeah,
I do believe in capitalism.
It's free choice, isn't it, in a way?
It's
very much
a free market, and it's also encouraging competition and pushing innovation on. I like it. But there's people out there who are just savages with it. Savages.
This is a problem far beyond me and you and our industry, but I think regulations are vital. You know, you look at things like the fizzy drinks tax coming in. All right. That is just a little splash in the ocean about what is actually possible with the right regulations. And I think if enough people vote with their feet, and as soon as they stop buying these products that are, you know, if you have a choice, all right, if you have the option to not buy as many UPFs or to look after health, you know, your own longevity, your kids' longevity. This is not to shame anyone, by the way, if you are struggling to do that. But if you're in a position to do that and you end up voting with your feet and not purchasing these products, they are forced to adapt and they will have to change.
A great example of a company being money hungry is Pringles.
Okay.
Did you know the Pringles lawsuit from years ago?
No, I know the catchphrase though, the slogan.
What's the catchphrase?
Once you pop, you just can't stop.
Yeah.
That's UPF personified.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, in the book, they were talking to an expert and he was giving some anecdotes of foods, and they said, can you name one that you think is like, you know, just one of the worst you've seen? And he labelled Pringles, basically.
Really?
He said they're as addictive as crack cocaine, is the phrase that he said.
Yeah.
He said they are literally engineered front to back to be like consumed in mass, essentially.
Is there no potatoes in Pringles?
Well, let me talk about this lawsuit.
Okay.
Under UK tax law, most food is 0 rated, but crisps and potato snacks are a specific exception. They attract full 0% VAT. Procter & Gamble, who own Pringles, saw an opportunity. If Pringles were legally crisps, they'd owe no VAT.
Okay.
So they basically tried to. It goes on for quite a while, describing a lot of things, but essentially, the Pringles case brilliantly highlights a company that had engineered a product so far removed from any natural ingredient that its own lawyers stood in a court and argued with a straight face that it wasn't really food at all. And they tried to do that to avoid paying essentially I think it was like £100 million in tax, VAT tax. They lost in the end.
Good.
And they had
good.
And they had to pay it. But there's been loads of cases like this. Pringles is just one of many. I mean, there was the McVitie's had to produce a giant Jaffa cake in a court to prove they are a small cake and not a chocolate-covered biscuit. Marks and Spencer, they had a chocolate tea cake litigation. It ran for more than 10 years before it was decided that they were cakes and not biscuits. It actually cost the Treasury over £3 million that they had to pay back in VAT.
Okay, I can just see that lawsuit. Like that sounds like something from a cartoon. It's like, we're gonna have this 10-year lawsuit to establish if a tea cake's a cake or a biscuit.
Basically, yeah,
like,
yeah. It's all over. It's all over tax, because these guys, obviously, these companies are getting taxed to the high heavens, right? But rightly so, because they're making a lot of money, and you know, they're not just trying to make more money off me and you and the consumer, but they're actually going to the tax man and saying, we don't want to pay any tax either. We can save ourselves £100 million this year. Great, we all get a big, nice bonus. It's nuts that them still go to make more money and to make more money. And to prove, actually, that their food isn't food.
Wild. At the risk of bashing UPFs too much, Dr. Anna Lowe spoke about it really well in terms of when she's on her massive bike rides, for example. She's doing, I'll give her a shout out actually, I think she's doing all 9 stages of the Women's Tour de France.
Yes,
the day
that's
in
right.
front of the pros.
That's right.
Which is insane. She's doing it for an amazing cause. But in order for her to get the right calories that she needs and nutrition, there's no chance she's getting that from Whole Foods. It has to be ultra processed. It has to be.
There's exceptions.
100%. And it has to be. And I think someone who's in like a surplus, for example, the first ever like big bulk that I went on, mate, I could not eat enough Whole Foods. I ended up layering on top like peanut butter on top of rice cakes, on top of all sorts. And it would just layering on foods, layering on shakes, like all sorts of stuff to get the calories in. No chance could I have done that with Whole Foods.
Agreed.
No chance.
There is exceptions with the amount of calories you need to burn, exercise and UPFs. I mean, energy gels are so prevalent now. That's something Dr. Anna Lowe brought up. You know, you've got apples and bananas that you can put in your bag, or you've got this little sachet that's got 4 or 5 times as many carbohydrates, and it's small, it's convenient, it fits in your little sachet bag. I'll give him another shout out, but we talked a few weeks ago about Fergus Crawley.
Yes, we did.
The 10 Ironmans in 10 days.
Has he done it?
He completed it.
Good lad.
Massive shout out to Fergus.
Wow.
I actually dropped him a message to see if he wanted to come on the podcast. And
Legend.
I think we're too small time for him. But yeah, what a guy. And he's got a YouTube series now that I'd strongly encourage anyone to go and watch if you want to get into the mindset of someone who does wildly extreme things in terms of pushing physical capabilities. And on one of the videos, it broke down his nutrition. And he basically had a pizza in order for when he finished his marathon at the end of this Ironman. And he basically had a pizza every day, essentially, along with a lot of other crap and processed foods. And one of the guys spoke with his nutritionist. He's like, why are you not having like really good nutrient-dense foods? He goes, well, we try and get as much of those in as we can. But after a certain point, you know, this guy might be having 10,000 calories a day in extra food. You just, the volume and the fiber involved with that is just too much for the body to have. Energy gels and those kind of things are much better because they're going to pass through the system and give the body what they need energy wise better. And that's a really good, you know, case study of someone who just needs UPFs to top up what they're already having. But the average person who maybe isn't as active, you've got to be really careful about what you consume on a UPF basis.
I suppose a couple of closing comments from me, because transparently, this is the Fit Dads podcast. I'm on the school run today. I think the key, I've wrote down 2 things here, which is the goal is not elimination, it's awareness and proportion a lot of the time. Like I mentioned that pie chart earlier, that 80-20, 90-10, whatever it's going to be for you. And then I'm a huge fan, because I'm from that education background, about teaching skills to navigate your environment. Because that'll always beat willpower. If you're actively trying to avoid donuts, cookies, chocolate, it's at the forefront of your mind. And I think if you can prepare, I always think preparation is so effective. If you can just have that time, sort of think, right, what can I do? Go for the R5 approach, which is just, you know, let's cook a little bit too much food and let me just save some leftovers for tomorrow. You know, let's think about how we can essentially do it. And then I suppose just a quick mention for farmers as well. All right. I don't know if you've watched Clarkson's Farm.
Love Clarkson's Farm. One of my favourite shows.
Have you been? Have you been to Clarkson's Farm?
I'm not, no.
I went a few years ago.
Did you? It's good.
Yeah, it's mint.
I've been put off though, because I've heard it's a bit of a free-for-all when you go down to the shop. Like it's a nightmare. The car park's not big enough and people are queuing down the road. And
it's a good atmosphere though. It's a good vibe. Like you stood in a queue and we went I can't imagine what it's like if weather's shite. But we went and weather were lovely and everyone's in car park having a good laugh. And but they do whiz you through that shop.
Do they?
Yeah.
In and out quick time.
Yeah, you have to make some quick decisions.
It always seems quite small, the shop, for like the amount of people that there. They could probably quadruple the size of that.
I think it's very tactical.
Do you?
Yeah, because there's a lot of like, oh, I'll have that. There's no real time to mull over.
Okay.
So, I mean, fair play, Jeremy.
I wonder how much money they make with that little shop.
I try to figure it out. I'm just like, if everyone here is spending 100 quid, and they probably are, because you've been stood in that queue for half an hour, it makes you think. Yeah. So it does get you thinking. So, look, if anyone can support farmers,
absolutely,
please do.
Speaking of shows, there was a big one on recently. It was Joe Wicks when he tried to make his own protein bar. Did you see that?
I did. This was actually, I did a video on this.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us some of the
I did.
parts of this video?
Yeah, why not? I think it was more the messaging that Joe Wicks put out there. Like it was very, how do we say it? Very polarizing, very extreme, very made for TV.
Yeah,
if you know what
I agree.
Yeah. And the messaging, I think it got a little bit misconstrued. Because protein bars aren't necessarily that bad for you in a sense of, but he were, possibly did everlasting damage to the protein bar industry, and people might cite that like, oh, Joe Wick says I shouldn't have this.
I agree.
So instead of somebody maybe having that, grenade bar, they might choose to have a Snickers.
Yeah.
Or they might choose a high protein Snickers, which if anyone doesn't know what it takes to be classed as high protein, the entire calorie amount has to be only 20% protein. So something that's high protein now is classed as, you get it in fucking cereal, like 7 grams. It's not fucking high protein.
I wonder if this documentary, by the way, so what Joe Wicks essentially tried to do was recreate his own protein bar. And he went into a lab and they put all these kind of different acids and oils and stuff in there. And it was quite dramatic, wasn't it? The lighting and the mood. And
made it look like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, a little bit like they're in some kind of a seedy lab creating these ultra processed foods. But if you break down what's in a protein bar, again, it's a supplement, by the way. It's a protein supplement. It's not your kind of main source of protein, just to boost your supplement for a day. Is it a glorified chocolate bar? Yeah, to a certain degree, but it has got higher protein that your body will use as protein to build and grow if your body requires it. And the watch is going off.
That's to prepare me to don't forget your son. Genuinely.
I like how you made an alarm for that. Like it happens a lot.
I get into a flow, mate.
I'll be honest, I've had a few calls.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's horrible.
You were supposed to pick your son up 20 minutes, your daughter up 20 minutes ago. Where are you? Oh, shit, I've been working.
Sorry about
that. All good. So, and it was, I mean, if you actually look at like the preservatives and additives and the actual like impact of that has been studied, and some of these high, ultra processed ingredients by themselves, they're not actually detrimental to the body. We're not going to die from them. It's what it does in terms of making us eat other ultra processed foods. That's where the real issue lies. And as long as if you're having a protein bar, a few times a week as a bit of a supplement on some days, I think that's okay. I'm not against protein bars, although I don't think we should demonize them. I think it's when the majority of your diet is made up of ultra processed foods. Is that going to compound things? Absolutely. Would you be better off with a chicken breast if you can? Absolutely. But it's a slippery slope when you start trying to demonize food groups, and that's what that show was about essentially.
Exactly.
He named a lot of brands.
He did, yeah.
I'm surprised. I'd be very surprised if there's not some defamation cases going on right now. Yeah. And how much did he actually affect the protein bar industry? Probably quite a lot.
Makes you wonder, because he's got a big platform.
He has
a massive platform.
Was on Channel 4 or something like that, maybe. ITV, Channel 5, maybe. It was a big show, and it was talked about a lot in the fitness world, online, on social media.
But then this is the nature of think about the Joe Wicks documentary that were in the news. Then the Manosphere, then loads of other stuff, and things just seem to never be revisited.
Yeah,
which is a huge shame.
Yeah, it's like stamped on people's psyche that protein bars are bad. Don't have those. Joe Wicks said it for sure. I'm very conscious that you need to go and pick your son up, mate. So let's wrap this one up. Any final words you want to put on the UPF?
I think for me, it's knowing that if you know that you want to make some changes, all right, do what you can. Don't feel like you need to compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone's in different socioeconomic backgrounds, conditions. If you're a parent of a young child and they're at that age where they can maybe get stuck in, let's teach them. We've been brought up around an environment, an atmosphere that's sort of been engineered to make it very consumeristic, very, I suppose, a big onus on marketing and consumerism. But teach them what real food is. Leave that seed in there at an early age, and see if you can get stuck in. Make the time for them, especially with kids. You mentioned it before. It's easy to kind of opt for the easy stuff. Go the extra mile for your kids because it's their development on the line. It Absolutely.
Really is. guys, thank you as always for joining us. We'll direct you to a subscribe. We'll direct you to a follow. You'll get updates every week when these podcasts go out, and we'd love to grow our audience. So yeah, maybe even a cheeky review.
Yeah, if you leave a review, I will give you a crisp high five if ever I meet you.
You'll be doing some rounds, mate.
That's fine. That's fine. Bring it on.
Guys, thank you as always. We'll see you on the next one.
See you soon.
My man.
Cheers, boss.
Awesome.